Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's bird video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's bird video. Day 10 will take us to the 13th of December, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles later on during a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFS V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, gets us to the end of December. And I should get over that for you in a moment. Just say that first. Video today was our 6 AM UK weather forecast. And we've also released the extended European outlook. That's back in its regular Tuesday slot. So check out those two vids if you'd like to do that. Like, share, and subscribe on all of today's videos and content. And thank you so much, everyone, for doing that for GavsWeatherVids. Thank you so much, everyone. The winter forecast was released and premiered on Sunday evening, so if you haven't seen it yet, winter forecast is out there. Check it out and see what we're forecasting for winter. And thank you so much, everybody, for an amazing premiere on Sunday. We had, I think, over 200 concurrent viewers, so it was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, everyone, for a massive, massive premiere. And as I say, the winter forecast is out there, so check it out, see what we're forecasting for this winter. It is quite an interesting forecast, but I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Have a look and see what you think. You can find it here on the GavsWeatherVids YouTube homepage. Winter 2024-25 forecast, 4.6k views so far. Thank you so much, everyone, for an awesome premiere. Right, let's have a look at central temperature. So the CET is currently sitting at 10.2, that is 5.7 degrees above 61 to 99 average, provisional to yesterday, to the 2nd of December. So that's actually over 12 degrees, though, for the first day of the month, because we didn't do a video yesterday. It took yesterday off to let winter forecast have 24 hours to shine as the primary video on the channel. So that's actually come down by a couple of degrees from the 1st to the 2nd of December, but it's still like 5.7 degrees above 61 to 99 average. It's going to come down a lot more over the next few days. It's going to be very entertaining to watch that collapse. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're at Wrexham today. The red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Wrexham. So we're starting off below average at the moment, but we are going to get a tick up in the upper air temperatures through the middle part of the week there. That's with an area of low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. But then after that, we see the upper air temperatures coming down, and actually quite an extended run of below average temperatures now being forecast. So you see the white line here, which is the ensemble mean, generally below the red line, the 30-year average, until about the 17th of December, and only then it reaches parity with the 30-year average. So quite an extended cold spell, could be quite a prolonged cold spell setting up here. There is a little bit of evidence for that. You notice later on, the GFS 6 then actually becomes a bit of a mild outlier right at the very, very end. Precipitation-wise, going to be a lot of heavy rain to come later on this week. So Thursday, Friday into Saturday, some very wet weather on way. Then after that, it's turning drier as it turns colder. Into the middle and second half of December, maybe some showering conditions coming back then. Now, just have a quick look at the ECM ensembles, because this is going to be important later on in the video when we go through the chart data. So broadly, the ECM ensembles are showing the same scenario as the GFS. So we're starting off below average, then we see a tick up with low pressure coming in from the Atlantic. From the weekend on, we get quite an extended run of below average conditions until about 17th of December, and then we see the long-term average and the ensemble mean coming back to parity. But notice the thick green line here. That is the GFS operational run, the ECM operational run, I should say. And for most of it, that is actually a bit of a cold outlier. Well, not necessarily outlier, but certainly at the coldest end of the range. So just keep that in mind when we look at the ECM operational run a little bit later on, because it is a very, very interesting run, to say the least. Temperature anomaly is from the 3rd to the 11th of December. A little bit above average for the south, a little bit below average in the north. Not a particularly big deviation either way. And precipitation anomalies from the 3rd to 11th of December. Dry and average in the south, wet and average through central areas, and dry and average again in the north. Latest river map from earth.knowlschool.net shows that at the moment we're under a ridge of high pressure. We've got a ridge here through Western Europe, but we have got plenty of low pressure all over the place in the Atlantic, and those low pressures will become more important as we go through the course of this week. So that takes us very nicely onto the chart data. This our latest UK Met Euro run is looking for midnight on Friday, bringing in a chilly northwest wind as low pressure clears away to the east. Another low zipping through the south. So there's a lot of uncertainty about this low Friday into Saturday. That potentially could bring a very stormy spell of weather on Friday night and into Saturday morning. A lot of heavy rain, severe gales, etc., etc. UK Met actually has that tracking further south, but a lot of model output, so we don't get any stormy weather with that, but it did potentially bring some very wet weather across southern parts of England. By Sunday, that's all out of the way, and we're going into this colder northwesterly to northerly push. And then into next week, we find the high pressure going up to Scandinavia and bringing the wind around to an easterly. That's as far as we get to the UK Met. Gets us to the 10th of December, next Tuesday. And that looks like it's setting up quite a prolonged cold spell, I have to say, with those east-northeast winds potentially bringing some snow showers into eastern areas. Icon, again, showing that low zipping across the south from Friday into Saturday. Then the wind switching around into the north, Saturday into Sunday. Cold with north-northeast winds into the beginning of next week as well. But unlike the UK Met, we don't send that high pressure up to Scandinavia and bring that proper east-northeast wind in. We just keep high ridging through the country. Now, that is quite a cold area of high pressure, to be honest, and it would bring, or a ridge of high pressure, and it would bring a fair amount of frost and fog and all of that sort of thing. But it hasn't got, like, those strong east-northeast winds, such as we saw on the UK Met. So if you have a look at the difference, there's a difference, you know, we've got proper east-northeasterly with the UK Met. We don't have that with Icon. Nevertheless, we'll still probably produce frost and fog for the early part of next week. KMA with winds in from the northwest as we're going into the end of the week. Then that low pressure zipping across the south, potentially bring some very wet weather across southern parts of the country. Might even be a little bit of snow on the northern edge of that low. Some will have to firm up on it closer to the time. But anyway, that gets out of the way and then go into those cold northerly winds into the weekend. Now, this is more like the UK Met, bringing much more of a northeasterly with the high pressure further north and northwest. So the KMA also looks like we set up quite an extended cold spell through the weekend and into next week with those east to northeasterly winds. High pressure then slips down over the country the middle part of next week. That's a cold high, so frost and fog, but cutting off the easterly. And then we get this big area of high pressure just setting up over to the east of the country. Lots of frost and fog with that, and a gentle sort of continental type flow. So the KMA is quite cold, and we do get a push of east-northeast winds early next week for a couple of days. And then we're into anticyclonic, frosty, foggy type conditions up to mid-month. GFS midnight run again with those northwesterly winds as go through into Friday. And then in comes that low on Saturday. Now, look how much further north the GFS is with that area of low pressure, bringing it through the central swathe of the country. Remember, the other model output that we've seen so far has that low tracking through there somewhere. So a lot of uncertainty about that low. It potentially is another named storm, but we'll have to wait and see just how much it deepens. Whatever happens with that low from Friday into Saturday, eventually by Saturday to Sunday, it's getting out of the way and bringing the wind into that very cold north-northeasterly, or cold north-northeasterly. And that takes into the start of next week a proper northeasterly wind there. Could bring some snow showers into the east-southeast. And the high pressure toppling down over the country cuts off the northeasterly. Cold with frost and fog through the middle part of next week. And then we're back into less cold and more unsettled weather later next week as the Atlantic returns. However, quite interesting, as we get into extended range, middle part of December, the low pressure of a jet stream starts tracking southwards again. And back we go, at least for a couple of days, into colder northerly winds again, for low pressure returns from the Atlantic once more. Very changeable scene, but with some cold snaps coming and going. GFS V2, by comparison, looks like that. So further southwards with the area of low pressure there, I think, with GFS V2, taking it through Wales and the Midlands and East Anglia by the look of it. So again, just got to firm up on the track of that low. Could bring some disruptive weather Friday night into Saturday. Regardless, that will get out of the way over the weekend and will bring the wind into a cold north-northeasterly. And those north-northeasterly winds continue then through into the early part of next week. Again, not as far northwest with that high pressure through the beginning of next week as like the UK Met and Icon and the KMA has it. It's UK Met and KMA. Yeah, Icon didn't have it as far northwest either. So that's more like the Icon model. Really get a little bit of a northeasterly, but not all that much early next week. Then high pressure trying to sort of get going over Scandinavia and to our east. Going to quite a chilly pattern through next week for the Atlantic breaks through. Again, that's the setup by the end of 6 day, gets us to 19th December, and could we be seeing signs of that high pressure trying to get up to towards Greenland just in time for Christmas? It's a long way out. Well, if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. Drop a comment. Let's know what you think about this and all of our videos and content. Don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Get them to subscribe to. And we thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. We need to put on around 45 subscribers to get ourselves to 19.2k. So if you could give us a sub and tell your friends and family to subscribe, that would be absolutely epic. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. Okay, GM. Again, bringing that low pressure a bit further southwards compared to particularly the GFS midnight run. But not as far south as like the UK Met. So once again, Friday to Saturday with that low just there. A lot of uncertainty. So sorry everyone. By Saturday to Sunday, we're into this run of cold northerly winds. The wind switches into the northeast through into Monday. So Monday and Tuesday looking quite cold, especially so in the south and the southeast with those northeasterly winds. That northeasterly gets cut off and then we get like a shallow trough setting up before we return back to milder southwesterlies again by day 10. And then we've got the ECM midnight run, which we know is at the cold end of the range within its ensemble, but let's have a look at it. So northwesterly winds midnight on Friday, even further south with that area of low pressure Friday into Saturday. That's more or less heading in towards France. So not much of an impact from that with the ECM. And then we switch the wind around into that colder northerly from Saturday into Sunday. And look how much further northwest it is with that area of high pressure to the beginning of next week. So that's the difference. The high pressure is more towards Iceland than like Ireland and Scotland. And because of that, we actually bring in a lot more of a east-northeasterly flow. So that could bring some snow showers into southern and eastern parts of the country. Easterlies maintained them through to this time next week, Tuesday the 10th of December, and still with an easterly flow, or northeasterly flow, as we get into the middle of next week. By this point, most of the other model output is collapsing high down across the country. So it looks like the ECM midnight run is setting up a prolonged cold spell, because then look what happens. High pressure then starts to move to the north of Scotland, and we end up with what looks like a proper blocking area of high pressure there. With the ECM midnight run, 1,030 millibars between Norway and Iceland. And there's some very cold air starting to pull around the back of that blocking area of high pressure from the north. So if that high was to be maintained for a couple more days, it is possible that we will start to bring in some very cold air from the east and from the northeast. It's only a hint at this stage, and we know it's at the colder end of the range, so I assume most of the ECM ensemble members are collapsing that blocking area of high pressure southwards, such as the other models do through the middle and second half of next week. But if that blocking high was to become established between Iceland and Norway, then we would be in for the possibility, anyway, of a prolonged spell of cold weather there. Right, well, let's have a look at the, so quite interesting ECM run, to say the least. Right, let's have a look at the precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Weather.com. So a band of rain and snow pushing into the north through the course of today. That will get out of the way overnight and into tomorrow. Then we've got a band of heavy rain coming in through the middle part of the week, proper wet, windy weather. That continues towards the end of the week as well. And then there's that little low that's causing all of the uncertainty for Friday into Saturday. The ECM only really has proper wet weather from that across the far south. But notice there is a little bit of snow to the north of that low through parts of Wales and into North Midlands. I think we need to leave that low alone for another day or so and further on its exact track. Regardless of that, we go into that cold northwesterly to northerly through the course of the weekend. That brings wintry showers in from the north. Then the wind switches around to the northeast, and so that starts to bring some snow showers into more eastern, potentially even southeastern regions there through into the beginning of next week, with those northeasterly to easterly winds being maintained. And then we dry out as that blocking area of high pressure takes over to the north of Scotland. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles for day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office. Gets us to the 13th of December. 33 members of the ECM ensembles, including the control and the operation run, with a blocking area of high pressure to the north and a ridge out to the northwest, a trough to our southeast, and so that keeps the wind in from quite a cold northeasterly direction. And then 18 members of the ECM ensembles have that high pressure ridging in from the Atlantic and going north. It's going to be mostly dry with the potential for frost and fog. But both options actually probably still keep it quite cold up to day 10. And then in 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we see. Gets us to the 18th of December. 13 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, but still the hint of a blocking area of high pressure up towards Greenland. So potentially that could still be quite cold, especially so for the north. We have 12 with low pressure out to the west, and that brings in a milder southwesterly. We have another 12 with high pressure from Iceland to Norway. That brings the wind in from a cold easterly direction. We have 7 with high pressure over into the southeast, country low pressure up here. That's going to be bringing milder air into Scotland, but could be cold with frost and fog for England and Wales. And then we have 7 with low pressure towards Denmark, high pressure to southwest country, and winds are coming in from quite a cold northwesterly to almost northerly directions. A lot of options there at day 14. So at day 10, it looks like we probably keep it quite cold, either from frost and fog or maybe something a little bit more wintry than that. At day 14, all options are on the table, and it's all to play for. Right, CFS V2, these are 500 millibar height and lines breaking down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 3rd through to the 9th of December. The next week has high pressure out to the west, a trough to our east, and we bring the wind in from a chillier northwesterly direction. Week 2 looks like that. It's the 10th through to the 16th of December. High pressure in the middle of the Atlantic. Low pressure towards Greenland and Iceland. Again, we could be bringing in a wind from quite a cold northwesterly direction. Week 3 is going to be 17th to 23rd of December. This looks milder. High pressure to the south. Low pressure to the north. Winds coming in from a west or southwesterly direction. And then finally, week 4 looks like that. It's the 24%, Christmas Eve to the 30th. And we see high pressure events sort of centered around Denmark, really. So that's a bit different from what CFS has been going for Christmas week for a while. And while it's not particularly wintry from a snow perspective, that will probably be quite cold. We will bring the wind in, you know, from the continent. I would imagine that will produce frost and fog. So maybe not like a snowy Christmas, but it could produce a seasonal Christmas anyway, with frost, fog, and that sort of thing. So a bit of a change from the CFS there today. Obviously a very long way out though. Just want to leave you with this. Just haven't looked at this in a 10 to 14 day, I don't think, so far this season. We have been keeping an eye on what the Strat is doing in winter updates. Of course, winter updates are finished now. So we're actually going to be starting Strat Watch tomorrow for Season 2. But I just wanted to show this. So these blue colours, these are the cold temperatures at 10 HPA over the Arctic and over North Pole. This is the latest GFS V2. So those cold temperatures in the stratosphere are maintained, and particularly over towards the European Atlantic side of the Arctic. We see very cold temperatures as low as minus 84. Check out what happens in the extended range though. This is a long way up, but look what GFS V2 is doing with those stratospheric temperatures late on. Significant warming into the second half of December begins to appear over Siberia, and that actually becomes a major warming of the stratosphere as we get through towards the 18th, 19th of December. Not an SSW, well, it's reaching the required temperature to be a sudden stratospheric warming, but up to the 19th of December, not really getting into the North Pole, although it is starting to push and displace the polar vortex at its roots in the stratosphere over towards the Canadian, Atlantic and European side of the Arctic and the Pole. But it's quite early in the season to be seeing such a significant warming of the stratosphere as that over Siberia. So possibly fun and games on the way with the Strat. And as I say, we're going to keep you updated with stratospheric developments in both the 10 to 14 days and also with Strat Watch. And episode 1 of season 2 of Strat Watch will be released tomorrow, probably around midday. It's going to be a very, very interesting video, to say the least. Right, we're done. If you've enjoyed the video, please do like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much to everyone for doing that. Why not drop a comment? Let's say what you think about this and all of our videos and content. And don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Get them to subscribe to you. And thank you so much for doing that. Around 45 subscribers will get us to 19.2k. So if you could give us a sub, that'd be absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Right, just tell what's happening on the channel tomorrow. So I've already mentioned Strat Watch, but before that, we're going to have a 6 AM UK weather forecast. We will be live at 6 PM tomorrow discussing the winter forecast, doing a 10 to 14 day, and perhaps we'll include a little bit long range in that, but probably going to ease off on the long range now for a while anyway, so maybe not, but anyway, live at 6 PM tomorrow, and then straight after that we've got the next installment of Christmas Countdown. I think that's update number 9. We have really backed off Christmas updates in favour of other videos recently. No, we're going to have to pick up the pace of the Christmas Countdown starting tomorrow, and that'll be released straight after your live stream around 7 PM. Right, that's the plan for tomorrow. You enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And for this one, though, that's all for now. And thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye for now.